This is a greenhouse that is really a high tunnel or a hoop house. On this farm, I am an organic gardener and I use no sprays, and so I'm battling everything nature tries to throw at me. My design for the greenhouse is not just to have a greenhouse full of tomatoes for market. It's not just to have a one crop or two crops in here. Mine is a process because I'm using it all the food for later. The reason for this greenhouse was the pests, the insects and the invasion that is constant in Kansas. These spiders that you run into everywhere are my friends. So are the ladybugs and the praying mantises that are in abundance in here. On pests, I found that these yellow sticky tabs for organic farmers are absolutely awesome. They catch a lot of the little tiny gnats that can come in from the walls. The second was because we have farmers all around us. And if I'm organic, and I have to be organic because I do dehydrate and things get concentrated in the harvesting and processing of the food, I need it totally free from chemicals. And so this gives it an enclosure that is a different environment for it to grow in that would be on the outside and would have contaminants. The growing season in Kansas is usually about mid-April to last of September. I can start growing in February and I can go all the way through November. My cold weather crops like cabbage and broccoli and even spinach and things that lettuce will last a lot longer. Now the brassica family crops will go all the way through the winter, be on the learning curve for now. It's been 3 years of learning, and it's not something you can do really fast. It has to be done just as you experience it. The county was cleaning the roadways and ditches, and so they gave us a whole bunch of dirt. Big mistake was that there was Johnson grass in there. I had to just spend 1 year taking my fingers through the dirt and pulling out those roots of the Johnson grass. So make sure your dirt is clean from invasive weeds. Build a 60 by 30 greenhouse 14 feet high, and we did it out of metal because in Kansas we never know when a storm's coming through, so we got the strongest kit, and we happened to find a company that is just 3 hours from us, and they build for Wisconsin or Minnesota up where the snow is real heavy. So in this greenhouse you will see the metal, and the metal was thicker than it was in the other kits. The ends of our greenhouse are polycarbonate, which is absolutely wonderful to use. It lasts many years and it insulates. It's got about a 1/4 inch air that runs up and down the tubes in it. On the top is 6 mil plastic, and on the sides is something that I felt was very necessary. I wanted to keep predators out of here too, which means my ducks and geese and chickens and everything that roams our farm. So I had it pull up from the bottom, and that allows the air to flow in each side, which is very, very important, especially with the fans at both ends, and then be able to raise and lower it instead of drop it down and have that space at the bottom where insects can come in and predators. This is the crank that I usually crank it up and crank it down every day, and so this is real wonderful. You can roll it up or you can roll it down. It's very easy to do, and for a 60-foot long greenhouse, it works wonderful. I needed raised beds for certain plants, and then I needed the long rows for other plants. And so this side has 10 raised beds. Most of them are 8 foot by 4, and some of them are 10 foot. And this is something that was wonderful. We had a greenhouse that we knew of that got storm damage, so they were dismantling it. They gave me all their old polycarbonate, and that enabled me to make my raised beds out of polycarbonate. Something I didn't do that I wish I had of when we were establishing the raised beds, I found out about this later, and too late, is put hardware wire, and I don't even see what it's called here, but to put this 1/4 inch wire at the bottom of each one of the raised beds. The roots can go through it, but the moles can't come up. And last winter I had an invasion of moles that literally made drain holes, so that when we put in the irrigation, it just drained from the inside right outside, and it puddled outside my greenhouse. So I would say it's worth the extra effort to do this when you're establishing your raised beds. Extra expense we did is get shade cloth to help with the heat, but we put shade cloth on the sides, and on the top we have 60. I think I would have put 50 on the top, but it hasn't seemed to be a problem with the sunlight. The temperature control in a greenhouse is something that is an ongoing discovery. This one, because I only have one layer of the plastic on the roof, there's no insulation. So when the sun goes down in the winter, this immediately meets the same temperature as what's outside, and vice versa in the summer. It's as hot as it is outside, it's in here. And so that would give a little bit more of insulation if you had an air pocket up there. The ventilation I have in here comes from the fans at the peak of the roofs, and one is an inlet and the other one's an outlet, so it just draws the air straight through. That is a real plus. The sides being able to go down as far as I want them to is another plus, because air comes from the side. We had to close our big doors and leave them closed, basically, to let air go through the entire thing, drawing it from each side and drawing it through the top where the heat is. We were able to use a grant to pay for this greenhouse. We got the funding through NRCS, and you can go to them, and if you own a certain amount of land, then you're eligible for it. This one, so what they did is they said, go find a kit, or what the cost would be for you to do it yourself, but let us know the price and put it down on your application. When we first started laying out where would we put a greenhouse on our homestead, we had to consider whether it was best for the way the sun goes, facing north and south, or east and west. And we chose east and west because we wanted to face the house. Most people said it just depends on what you want, and it's not so much the sun's going to get to it. The other is location that's free from trees. We don't want trees shading it and branches falling on it and stuff like that. So we located this area right here, which is probably about 100 feet from our house. The other thing on location is it can't be where it pools water. Sorry, I had to stop because there's a bug over here. Just a minute. Sorry. When I see them, I have to get them where they're there. Come see our homestead greenhouse. This is something that is many people's dreams, and it was my dream for many, many years. And finally, my dream came to reality.